Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this screencast on the Persyst Routine and Ambulatory Pack. Today we'll be talking about performing spike and seizure detection on ambulatory EEG recordings. This movie should take about 12 minutes to complete, and our topics will include launching Insight 2, opening a recording, configuring the Insight 2 screen for the first time, optimizing spike and seizure detection performance, performing spike and seizure detection, reviewing seizure events, and reviewing spike events. Use the scroll bar at the bottom of the window to jump to any particular section of the video. Let's get started by launching Insight 2. Once the Persyst EEG software is installed, there should be an Insight 2 icon on your screen. Double-click on the icon to launch Insight 2. Next, let's open a recording. Select File and Open from the Insight 2 menu. The file format or the type of EEG system used to create the recording is selected here using the Files of Type drop-down. Initially, this window will show recordings that have been reviewed with Insight 2. You may want to put your file type towards the top of the list. To do this, select File and then Sort File Types from the Insight 2 menu. Select your file type and then select Up to move it to the top of the list. Position it under the default Persyst file type so that it's easy to select. The first file that we will examine is named Seizure A, and it's provided on your Persyst Sample Recordings DVD. We've copied it to the hard drive of this computer so that we can rescan it. Now we'll configure the Insight 2 screen for the first time. Let's arrange some of the displays in Insight 2. To do this, we'll left-click and drag the top of each display to stack them from top to bottom. Then grab the top border of each display window to size it based on your preference. This only has to be done once after Persyst 11 is first installed. Let's talk about optimizing spike and seizure detection performance. This recording starts with a square wave calibration signal. If we switch to a referential montage, we can see the waveform. By selecting the recorded montage from the drop-down list, we can view all the EEG channels as they have been recorded by the EEG system. Note that the square wave calibration signal is mostly flat. Persyst spike detection calibrates its gain during the first 3 minutes of the EEG. Therefore, if you do run square wave calibration, it should only be done for a page or two at most. Also, if you record EEG during electrode application, then the EEG will be almost entirely artifact during that time, and this will also interfere with the automatic spike detection gain calibration. Therefore, if you do record EEG during electrode application, once the electrodes are applied, close the recording and start a new one for the same patient. This way, the recording will start with good EEG. While many EEGers view the EEG in a double banana or bipolar montage, at the start of a recording, it is helpful to check the EEG signal using an amplifier reference montage. The reason is that bipolar montages subtract the reference from each channel, and the amplifier reference is actually common to all channels. Therefore, we'll want to check for bad channels or a contaminated reference when viewing the EEG in an amplifier reference montage with the notch filter off. We call this a digital biocal because it supersedes the old FP1 to O2 biocal montage that is only appropriate for analog EEG, and as a result, it's become obsolete with the introduction of digital EEG. Let's switch to a bipolar longitudinal montage here, where we can see there are several noisy channels. Note that the amount of artifact is visibly reduced, even though it is still there. This is one example of why a digital biocal montage can make it easier to spot problems with individual EEG electrodes or a problem with the amplifier reference. Here we can see where the electrode issues have been resolved. EEG recording quality is the primary issue that affects any type of EEG analysis or review. Good electrode application is the primary method of achieving high-quality EEG recordings. Now we'll discuss performing spike and seizure detection with Persyst 11 software. To do this, you can view any montage you like, and then select the Start-Stop button on the Insight toolbar just to the right of the M marker button. When the end of the recording is reached, deselect the Start-Stop button. We'll let this continue to the end of the recording. The scan is completed, so we'll deselect the Start-Stop button, and now we'll discuss reviewing seizure events. These are reviewed from the Insight 2 comment list. If it's not already selected, select the Seizure Detection tab at the bottom of the comment list. Select a seizure detection to jump directly to the underlying EEG. Click on the EEG and then use Page Up, Page Down on your keyboard to review. You can also click just to the left or to the right of the scroll bar button to page the EEG. You can also review seizure detections from the trend display. Select the M marker button to view the trend. Here we're displaying 1 hour of trend. Let's change the time range to 30 minutes. The seizure detections are displayed in the top trend. Below this are the rhythmicity spectrograms left and right, an artifact trend, and a spike density trend. Note the increase in spike density for each spike and wave discharge. To review the underlying EEG, select a point on the trend, and then select the Review button to see the EEG waveforms. Spike events are reviewed using the Spike Review program, and this is launched by selecting the gold Spike button on the Magic Marker toolbar. This is a very short recording where the spikes are primarily part of spike wave discharges. Let's open a 24-hour ambulatory recording to explore the review process in more detail. Let's select File and Open to open the ambulatory EEG example. Again, seizure events are reviewed from the Insight 2 comment list. If necessary, select the Seizure Detection tab from the bottom of the comment list. Select a seizure detection to jump to the underlying EEG. Then, click on the EEG and use Page Up, Page Down or the scroll bar to page forward through the EEG. 3 of the seizure detections are true positives. There is muscle artifact during each seizure, and there is significant electrode artifact during one of the seizures. 2 of the seizure detections are false positives. Again, spike events are reviewed using the Spike Review program, and this is launched by selecting the gold Spike button on the Magic Marker toolbar. An overview of the spike detections is now displayed. Each waveform is a grand average of the detections at that electrode location. Let's change the montage to bipolar longitudinal A. Here we can see that the leftmost average shows a phase reversal at T3, a slow wave, and a field. Double-click on the average waveform at T3. The individual events are shown left to right. Use the scroll bar at the bottom of the page to page through all of the detections for this group. Most of these are T3 spikes. If you are saving your detection results, click on any of the waveforms to select the ones that you would like to include in your final report. You can double-click on any waveform to further verify their nature in a longer waveform window. Double-click on the event to return to the individual traces. Let's go back to the Overview tab. Look at the other waveform averages to see if there are any other detections that appear to show a spike. There appears to be a phase reversal, a slow wave, and a field at the P3 group. So double-click on that average and we'll view the original non-averaged waveforms. Select the Overview tab again. Let's use the scroll bar at the bottom of the screen to see if there are any other waveform averages that appear to be a spike. There may be one here at the O1 group. Let's double-click on it and view the individual waveforms. Since there's only one here, let's increase the detection sensitivity to see if there are any additional abnormalities at this electrode location. We can double-click on any one of the detections to view it in a longer window. Double-click again to return to the average waveforms. Since we've increased the detection sensitivity, let's go back to the Overview tab. We can use the scroll bar at the bottom to see if the increase in sensitivity shows any additional abnormalities. We can look at the raw constituent spikes by right-clicking on any one of the waveform averages and selecting Show Constituent Spikes. Then use the scroll bar at the bottom of the page to page through all the raw detections. Let's go ahead and move back to the beginning of this set of detections. And let's move to our final report. From the top of the screen, arrow over until you see the Final Report tab if necessary. Here we see grand averages of the spike events that we selected from the other tabs. We can add a voltage plot to our report as well. To do this, we'll select a referential montage, right-click on one of the waveforms, and select Show Voltage Plots. You can also include the constituent spikes in your final report as well. Let's preview and print a copy of the final report. To do this, select File, and then Print Preview. Additional information about the use of Persyst Spike Review can be viewed by selecting Help from the menu. As always, please feel free to contact Persyst if there are any questions, and thank you for joining us for this screencast.